All right, welcome guys to the Men Ignited podcast. My name is Pete O'Neill, and I'm here with special guest Ankur Chandra. And today we're going to be talking about dating in the modern world. Okay, and Ankur here, he is a digital marketer who specializes in SEO, and he's one of the best. He's put me as number one in my local city, and that has helped me serve so many guys and help them out in their dating life. So this guy, he's really amazing. Tell everybody, Encore, why they should also use SEO if they have a business, if they have like a service or a product for their business.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you for such a warm welcome. Really
Yeah,
appreciate that, Pete. Um, yeah, man. So, you know, it's just basically the current times of today, right? So,
yeah,
digital marketing, online visibility, getting that attention for your business is so important. And that's really what I specialize in, but more specifically, the Google platform. That's where I believe where you can get the warmest leads, right? Because you're actually searching. A lot of people are actually searching and typing in,
yeah,
hey, like I'm looking for, in your case, dating coach near me or men's development San Diego. So a lot of those people, you want to capture their attention versus sometimes other platforms. And that's really where we come in. And, if you already have a profile, we optimize it to where you're literally like on the first page. And then also, we help you run ads if it makes sense for your business. One of the cool things that we're working on is also integrating AI and how we can actually maybe even have an automatic follow up for the people that contact you so you don't lose those leads, right? So
yeah,
constantly just evolving and trying to basically streamline the process for a lot of business owners because they're
yeah.
a lot of times so in the weeds, right, of you getting and fulfilling your service that, okay,
Mhm.
like maybe there's certain things that you wouldn't know about with marketing and the leads that come in and how to nurture them and stuff like that. So that's really where we come in.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you guys want to get more leads, whatever business that you're doing, definitely reach out to Encore. But yeah, let's get the show started. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So wanted to ask you, Pete, obviously you being in the dating and personal development space,
Yeah.
really, you know, what are some of the biggest challenges that men have whenever they are dealing with women in their dating lives, like in current and in modern times, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of different challenges. The challenges that I faced when I was single was number one. I mean, just being able to approach a woman in real life. That's like the biggest thing right there. I think we all, as guys, whenever we go to a public setting with our friends or just by ourselves and we see an attractive girl, there's always that thought that, like, I wonder what would happen if I went and talked to her, right? And there's like a lot of
Absolutely.
thoughts. But then most guys we don't want to do it because at the end of the day we're trying to not get rejected. We're trying to always play staying in the comfort zone. We're always just not trying to get humiliated. And anything that involves a little bit of risk and people seeing us, that is something that a lot of guys don't take the risk of, right? So that I would say that's like the number one thing that most
Mhm.
guys have challenges on. But also like there's so many different things like dating apps. Like a lot of guys make excuses that they can't meet anybody on dating apps, but the data says another thing. It says that that's the number one way that most people have met their partner now, right? So if other people have met their partner, well, chances are they're probably doing something wrong, whether it's
Yeah.
in like they're not optimizing their profile or the text messaging phase, conversations fizzle out or
Mhm.
they get
So a lot
ghosted.
of like victim mentality, it seems like, right? Like,
Yeah, a
like
little
really
bit.
being,
Yeah, a little bit of making excuses and like kind of just like the pattern that they're running into is just the same thing over and over again. They're going in a circle, but yet they're
yeah.
like they're expecting a different result, right? So it's like nothing really is going to happen if you don't change your strategies, right? But here's the thing. I really think that the bigger picture of like the question that you asked me like what are the challenges that guys have? I really do believe though that like the reason why us guys, like the majority of men have actually problems in their dating life is because nobody ever really teaches you this. Like whenever we go to school, when have you ever had a class that, showed you how
Yeah,
to, approach a girl or
a
how
part
to
of the curriculum.
optimize your your dating life to, get be able to get dates on the dating apps or your social skills or being better at like, flirting with women and bantering with women. I don't think that there's ever any classes really that really focus on this and help a man out. And this is the reason why a lot of people have challenges. This is the reason why I had challenges. I never had a freaking
Yeah.
class when I was in high school and college that like showed me, hey, this is how to talk to women. This is how to da da da
That's
da da.
hilarious. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
So
I'm imagining that being part of like some type of actual public school curriculum. And,
yeah,
that's why, I think a healthy role model that, I know
yeah,
for both of us, which we didn't have, would have been actually so
yep,
important to like at least get us to understand the psychology and maybe like understand the fact that we have to initiate and be the leaders. I know I didn't have that. I think you didn't
yeah,
either. Um, and so
sure,
like even having like either a father or an uncle that's like, just talking to you here and there and trying to like get
yeah,
you to like understand a little bit.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And we both had our own journeys with that and we had to kind of learn the hard way, I think. So
Yeah, I agree with you. Like besides the school and like the friends, uh it comes down to like our environment of like the first person who is like teaching us to be a man is like our father, right? And like for me, or just like from what I've seen from my clients is like there's a couple different cases. So for me it was like my dad, like when I was born my dad kind of left my life, so I didn't really have that father
yeah,
figure until I met my stepdad, who I love him, he's my dad. But like my stepdad, even though he's an amazing guy, he has a great heart. He's helped me out in so many different ways, and I'm super thankful. He never really showed me the way on like how to be a man, how to be a leader, how to like be more confident with
yeah,
women, and like help me on my dating life, really, right? So I was never really like a natural. I didn't have like a older brother like who was like, hey, this is how I've done it. Da, da, da. I've had like
dude.
friends in high
I
school who had like
yeah,
older brothers or their dads that were like helping them out and they were already pretty good, or maybe just natural, or their social circle was always around women too. So they were just good around women. So for me, it wasn't really like that. So I had challenges, right? And that was a big thing. That was the reason why I struggled in high school and like my early 20s, my basically my whole life in my early 20s until I actually was like, you know what, dude, like I
yeah,
gotta
let's do
change.
this. Yeah.
Right. And then you can probably
And
relate to the same thing, right? Same thing for you or
yeah, yeah.
something similar.
I mean, yeah, like
Yeah.
I have so many similar relatable things that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So I lost my father early as well, to cancer. So didn't
Mm.
have a healthy kind of father and masculine figure there. My stepdad is a great man, but
Yeah.
he definitely didn't have, that leadership quality that kind of allows you to kind of learn from him a little bit more. There's a lot of good things about him, and he's always provided for us. But I didn't have that either, right? I also don't have an
Yeah.
older brother, for example. So I really do resonate with that. I relate with that a lot.
Mm.
Um, I think that obviously would have given us a fast track, but obviously that is why like maybe it ended up being a good thing because we realized, hey, look, I have to take the ownership if I want to change, and
Yes.
then kind of
I
dive a
love
little
that
bit
word,
deeper.
ownership.
There
That's
you
a
go,
good word.
Jocko, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah, that's what made me think.
that's
And
what
then I
I
think
was
of
like.
Jocko.
Yeah,
I was
I was
like,
like,
oh
who's
shoot.
that guy again? The
Yeah,
ownership.
yeah, Jocko. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ownership though is true.
yeah, yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you, like, well, so what do you think also about like maybe also having those healthy habits, like discipline that pushes more guys to, I guess, like for me, I know like
Yeah.
staying more disciplined, whether it's like with business and fitness, it kind of translates into your confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I do think that is a factor. So it's that combination, I think, of that confidence and then also having someone there to like be like, oh, like, hey, like this is how you go and talk to somebody or on your social skills, right? So
Yeah.
would you agree with that or what's your take on that?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with you. I know that like, we kind of both have very similar when we were kids and teenagers, like we both had that, right? Like we both like our dads, like they were great men, but like they just, our stepdads were great men, but they didn't they weren't really there for us, right? So when I like look at the overall picture of like all guys, like I noticed a couple different things. I noticed one, either when they're younger, their dad is not there in their life,
Mm.
like physically, or number two, their dad is there but doesn't teach them how to be a
Yeah.
man, like
Right.
doesn't teach them about dating and stuff like that. Nothing in this space.
In that arena,
Or
yeah.
or like the other one is just like their dad is there, but he's more teaching them like more like if they're like wealthy, more about finances, more about certain things,
Yep.
which is amazing things, you know what I mean, to say, but never really this, right? Or the other one would be like a dad's there. He used to like, be good with women and then he's teaching his
Mhm.
son or like he's helping him
There
out.
you
It's
go.
very rare,
Well,
very
that's definitely
freaking
gonna be
rare.
you. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, very. That's gonna be you, right? It's a very rare, right? Or like an older brother or something like that, right? So that in my opinion right there like encapsulates all the man like of why they're having challenges in their life because even like for example, you played sports in high school. I
Yep.
played sports in high school too. I played a lot of different sports. I played football, basketball, track. I did a little bit of martial arts like when I was younger. So I did gain a little bit of confidence from each
Yep.
sport, which is an amazing thing. But that doesn't always translate to having confidence with
Oh
women.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, right?
Absolutely.
If that
And
was the
actually I
case,
wanna I
yeah.
wanna make a point on this because
Huh.
this is definitely something I really agree with because what is that red pill thing where it's just like looks, money, status? And it's like
Oh
that's
yeah.
great and you should do that
I
for
think that's black
yourself.
pill. Yeah.
Or black pill. Yeah. So I don't know all the pills, guys. Sorry.
Green
Um,
pill.
no, just kidding. I'm familiar with most of them now.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like self-improvement is great, but then also you got to actually take action with women and also work on your social skills because if you just do that, you're still not going to be able to actually talk to them and communicate with them. So I think that's where a lot of people kind of miss the picture, or maybe even the younger guys, where they're like some of these like influencers are like, hey, no, don't worry about the chicks at all, right? Like
Yes.
completely, and just do, I guess, fitness, business, and that's it. Once you're
Yep.
rich and jacked, and it's like, yeah, but like you can also here and there like work on your communication and social skills, right? Like
Yeah.
in my personal opinion. So that's like the
Yeah,
one
I
thing
agree. I agree
they get
100%.
wrong.
Like, or I agree. Like, a lot of guys that I know, they work on just making as much money as possible. And I think that's a great thing to do because I mean, those things those are tools to be able to invest in yourself and like to work on yourself. Once again, personal development, add things to, skill development in certain areas that you're weak at. But what I see a lot of people do, the majority of guys, if they go in this field, for example, they, go to high school and then they go to college, they graduate with like a computer science degree, for example. I'm giving an example, right? This is just one example. And then they get a job in a tech field, and now they're working in the tech, and now they're doing well, right? In their career, they're doing well. They're doing it for a couple of years. They're working out, just like you're saying. So they're having like a good career, having good finances, and then also working out, taking care of
Yep.
themselves. But yet, where in the heck is the skill development when it comes to their
Yep.
social skills, their
Yep.
interpersonal skills, their ability to flirt and banter with women, their ability
Right.
to approach, being a risk taker, right? Where does that come into play? Doesn't really come into play. So therefore, they get into this, myth of like believing this thing of like, as soon as I have, a great career and my finances are in
Yeah.
place and I have the house or a nice car, that all of a sudden the woman of my dreams is going to come. But in reality, that doesn't always happen
Yeah.
like that.
Right. No, that's exactly it. It can happen, but then unfortunately, in my opinion, you're gonna get the girl that's like literally all after what your wealth and maybe your social status and maybe your body. And it's like, if you had worked on your communication and charm, now it's like,
She's not really there for you. She's there for like what you
yeah,
have
kind
rather
of.
than
I
like
mean,
loves you for you.
and I think,
Yeah.
yeah, like I think it just makes it a little bit tougher, that's
Or
all.
you might get used from a woman, like that's kind of what you're saying, right? Or like she might be there for the wrong reason, or you might be attracting a toxic woman. So you don't have the like knowledge of like, hey, hold on a sec, like before I commit to this girl, because I've never really had any success. Hold on a
Yeah.
sec. Is she actually like a wifey material? Does she actually like da 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 like et cetera? Like does she check actually these boxes besides being cute? besides being
Yeah.
pretty, right? Because that's what a lot of guys do. It's like, okay, she's hot. They disregard all the red flags, right? Like this is it, right? And then
Well,
this
I
is the
think
reason.
that's the unfortunate part about, I guess, like only working on, let's say, the finance or the
Yeah.
body, like only because then let's say like you're waiting for like 10 years for that. It's like the first girl that kind of like, you know, attention you both like each other and you get her attention and she's pretty, like you kind of just go with the flow and maybe get into a relationship, but then you haven't actually communicated and talked to many other women to know whether she's actually a good one or not, right? So
Yeah.
it's just, you do have to basically combine all of those. Like, hey, do
Yeah.
everything. Like, you have enough time to, maybe talk to a few women on a dating app or maybe even talk to them in person every now and then. You don't have to, I
Sure.
think, put your, lifestyle, or sorry, your self-improvement
Mhm.
on pause, right? Like, it
Yep.
should be part of your lifestyle in your day that, hey, I make things happen for my dating life every now and then, and I do that. I'm not gonna wait for, what is it, 5 to 10 years like some of these guys are saying, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I really do believe that that's the reason why like a lot of people get into divorce. A lot of people always like talk about the numbers. They're big into numbers. Oh, like according to the data in
oh
the
yeah, yeah.
internet, uh XYZ percentage of people are getting, divorced. The real question is that I believe, instead of saying like going into that side of things, like, oh, like getting married is really, how about like the question that you should ask is like, you think that those people that got divorced, do you think that they ever really truly worked on their dating life, the
Mm,
relationship skills,
good
their
point.
interpersonal skills? Like my belief is
Probably
not
not. Yeah.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So then they just end up choosing someone has a bunch of red flags or something like that, right? They don't really get to know her. And then from there, a couple of years later, they get divorced. And then so on and so forth. And again, they get divorced. And it's just like it keeps happening. And then like they're just like, oh my God, all women are like
Yeah.
this, right? It's like, dude, you never worked on this,
You
man.
never actually worked on it to a point where you've sampled and talked to enough women to know that that's the right one for you. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
exactly, man. And like there's exceptions to it too. Like sometimes guys, the timing, and sometimes it's a luck thing of like a guy that I like, a couple of friends that I know, they'll meet their high school sweetheart and that's it. They get married
Yeah.
and they're
And
still
sometimes,
together,
yeah,
right?
like, and
Sometimes there's always an
we
exception, right?
can't
There's
all be
always a
that lucky,
yeah.
right? But
Yeah, we can all, but
we'll cover that.
can we really rely on luck in your love life if you're single?
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
So
and that's also like that Disney fairy tale thing, it's, and I think that's why it's tough also, in my opinion, because there's so many messages. If you're constantly just, I guess, getting messages from the online world, right? Like, whether it's like that fairy tale that, oh no, you just know, and it's like your soulmate will come, and just wait, be patient, to only do the self-improvement. And
yeah,
so it's kind of
yeah,
hard, like,
yeah.
to know exactly,
Yes, yes.
I think,
I
like,
agree. That's a really good way to put it. And one other thing to add is when they actually get into the relationship, they don't do any relationship skill building, right?
there
Maybe
you
like
go.
you know this, like you've heard a lot of guys, like I know that like my clients, a couple of clients that came to me, they've like came to me after getting into a divorce, and they told me that they like lost frame with the woman, like the woman started disrespecting them in the marriage after like a
Yeah.
year being married. And then there's a lot of resentment builds. They don't really know how to talk to the woman and really, truly, hey, set healthy boundaries to where, there's proper right things and wrong ways to do things, right? Like at least people know like what's right, what's wrong. And like, a lot of times guys don't know how to keep a woman. That's another
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
too.
And
So it's
and
not
that's a
just
great
about
point, because
attracting, it's keeping as well. When we're talking about dating, we're talking about, this is for the guys that the end game is marriage and like having a family and having like
right, right.
having a really strong family and having love, right? Like the big thing is being able to keep a woman. That's another skill set in itself that I really do believe, as a man, if you want a strong relationship, you got to work on this as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got to
No,
work
great.
on it. So it goes both ways. Knowing how to find the right one
Yeah.
And then once that you
It's
do,
it's
how to
basically
maintain, how to
two
keep.
it's almost like two different skills completely, because the first is all about attraction, right? Like your
Yeah,
maybe your charisma or your confidence, but then whenever you're in like a real serious relationship, how do you still keep that burning desire? How do you keep your frame? How do you still be attractive to your partner, right? And
yeah,
that's, I think also, you're able to do both because you have experience literally with both, which is
yeah,
awesome. And I don't know how many, like dating and relationship coaches would be able to like have just as much experience in both, right? So
yeah,
I think it's pretty awesome, man, that you have that. But I want to also kind of ask a couple more questions related to
yeah,
this. So
yeah.
we talked about some of the challenges, but like how can like men in 2024, it's about to be 2025, actually improve their dating lives? And also, is it really about changing who you are, right? So
Mm.
like those are the two questions that I want to know from you.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, how can men improve their dating life? So, there's a couple different ways, but like, I'll just explain from like a short little story from me of how I improved. So, like, I can always go back to a time where I struggle. Like we talked about earlier in this episode. I had challenges basically my whole life, and then that's when I was like, okay, what am I gonna have to do to improve, right? And the first thing was really looking at the community of the people that I was around with, right? So like when I finally moved to California, I met a couple of guys that were kind of like working on this, like as far as like their social skills. They were approaching women, and that was the first thing that I needed to see. I needed to see a couple guys just be able to like approach a girl, and like even if it didn't go anywhere, at least like it didn't go bad, right? And if it did go somewhere, it was like a positive like reaction. I was like, wow, like this can happen. Like I see, a friend of mine talking to a girl and like, get her number and then like go on a date with her and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. Like if that can happen, that can happen to me. I always had that
It's
belief. Like if it can happen to
powerful,
them,
man.
it
You're
can
seeing
happen
it
to me.
live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So first was having a community for me. I do believe that like if you want to be better in your dating life, you got to join a community of guys that also want this in their life as well, or they're improving on this, right? So that's kind of what I did, right? And then from there, once that I started to see that, from there, that's where I like started reading books on like psychology and understanding women a little bit more, right? And then from there, I started to kind of approach women and work on my social skills. And it took me a while to figure out, right? I was really, I got a lot of rejections, but I never looked at rejection as like really a bad thing because I was always focusing more on like my purpose, my vision that I had, like my higher self. And that's something that I can always go back to. So like if I got rejected by a girl, I could always like self-affirm like, okay, like, but where I'm going, like it doesn't matter. Like I'm gonna continue to get better and da da da. And like I just kept building upon that. And that's what like led me to get better in like being able to handle the rejection aspect of it, right? And then from there,
Mm.
I got better with women and like my approaching abilities, my confidence, my kind of like understanding like how to take the conversation to the next step because at first it was just like simple stuff like I couldn't really look at really like attractive women first, right? I was like, oh shit, like I can't really like, oh shit. Sometimes I would talk, my voice would crack.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I and there's so many other things that would happen. I would put my hands in my pocket.
Oh
there,
man, yeah. Hey, that goes to show you guys, look, like, everyone, including Pete, starts
yeah,
from somewhere, right? Like this is literally now to not only, being with your dream woman, but teaching other guys. And you started at not being able to like
ground
hold
zero,
eye contact. So, it
ground
just goes to
zero.
show like for everybody, like, like if, both Pete and I can have successful dating lives, anyone can, I think, in my
Yeah.
opinion. You just have to work on it.
You really have to have that desire. I always came from a place. Another thing is like coming from a place of like wanting to truly change. And how do you want to change is by you finally saying, I don't want to be how I used to be. I'm tired of where I'm at. Right. That's another thing that I had too was like, I'm tired of in high school not getting what I want.
Yeah.
Right. I'm tired of like my friends that I was with, they would be good with women. I would be the third wheel. I didn't really know how to like behave and communicate and like flirt and stuff like that. So therefore I didn't have anything. I don't want to be like that. So I have to change. I want to change. So I had kind of like a desire to wanting to change. If you don't have the desire to want to change, or like you're like kind of upset about where you're at, and there's no like real strong motivation to move forward into that direction, then it's going to be hard to like continue moving forward. And like if you get rejected, like to like quit,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know?
No, that makes sense. And one thing that I want to add to that, like with the rejection thing, like one thing that I learned was like reframing that, the rejection part, which is
Yeah.
essentially like, this is what I had read like the only like dating book.
Yeah.
And it literally was like, like you have to reframe that rejection to incompatibility. Like if someone rejects you, you're
Mm.
literally just incompatible with them because that's
Yes.
just what it is. And so now
Yes.
you reframe that, oh, okay, so they're not interested in me. Well, that
Yeah.
makes sense. We would never have gotten along anyway.
Yeah.
Let me actually get as many rejections as I can so I can find the person that is compatible with me. Right.
Yes.
So I don't know about you, but like that reframe was like, oh, okay, that means I just have to continue. I just have to
Yeah.
keep going
That's a good way
because
of thinking. Yeah.
obviously, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a powerful reframe. And
Yeah.
then also again, just going back to the healthy habits do build the confidence in my opinion. So like even if you don't have like the success that you want in your dating life, but is the rest of your day to day like something that is, is it building your habits? Is it actually adding to your confidence? That is going to seep over, I think, in your
Yeah.
results because the way you carry yourself and your body language, those subtle things that women notice, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
carries.
Yeah.
So
Let me ask you something. So one of the things that I did too, that like now we're talking about like the rejection part, is one of the things that I would do, that I really do advise everyone to do this, is to like celebrate the small wins, right? And what do I mean by
mm,
this, right? I'll give you an example, perfect example. Okay. So when I first started approaching women, I came from like, let's say that I approached a girl, the reaction was positive, it went pretty well. And then like let's say that I got her number, and let's say and I did get her number, and then from there when I texted her or tried to get a date, it just I got the conversation fizzled out,
yep,
or I got ghosted, right? So a lot of times guys will like be upset because they're just looking for that like result,
yeah,
so results oriented, like outcome dependent. For me though, when that would happen to me, I would focus on like the good. What was the good that happened?
boom,
I approached
got the
her.
number, baby.
Yeah, I got the number,
Let's
and like
go.
I had a good positive reaction. So if it can happen once,
Yeah,
it can happen again. And that's what led me to like building the confidence that it
the
could. So I
momentum.
would always be in the good rather than in the bad. And I think that's really something that like people who are trying to approach women need to focus on, is like
Yeah.
good,
Yeah, I
right?
think I learned that from you actually. Like you were like, "Hey man, like celebrate whether it was like a client win or like even,
Yes.
an approach that went really well. Maybe you didn't lead
Yes.
anywhere, but like celebrate."
But what was good about it, right? What was good? If
Yeah,
it can happen there, it can happen again, right? And that's like the confidence that you can truly build. That's like confidence that you stack. You're full stacking, right?
let's go.
And
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
just to add to that, I think it's actually about what's in your control, right? So the taking the action, let's say approaching that cute girl, that's within your control. If you
Yeah,
did
yeah,
that,
true.
you that's kind of a win, right?
That's
Because you
another
can't
win. That's
control the
another win.
reaction.
Yep.
Sure, maybe you're not as good at like just saying what's up or saying hello, but
Yeah.
you went up, so that was the only thing you could control. Her
Yes.
reaction, whether like she ends up in bed with you or walking away and
Yeah.
slapping you across the face is out of
Slapping
your
you. If
control.
you're getting
So,
slapped, I think yeah, I think you're doing
I'm
something
just
wrong,
saying,
right?
like
Yeah.
and I think that is tough. I think
True.
to have that mindset, but it's so important.
Mindset is everything though, because it's the foundation of everything. If you don't have a mind, if you don't have a strong mindset, you're gonna quit. That's just simple as that. But one thing that we're really missing as far as like how to improve our dating life, one of the things that did like build my confidence, I do believe that you probably same thing, was like I was always lazy when it came to working out. Like in high school, I remember like I was in football and they were always like, you gotta do squats and this, and I never wanted to do it. For some reason, I just didn't want to do that. I don't know why. But then it was
That's
after my senior year that I was like, because I had a friend, his name was Jacob. He's like one of my best friends, and in high school, and he would always work out, and he was like pretty jacked. And I noticed that like women like would give him a lot more attention. Plus he was the quarterback. But
Oh,
so
well,
he had that
maybe that
situational social
combination will do it,
status, right? But he was pretty jacked himself, and girls, I would see that they would like be like, hey,
man. Of
so
course.
I was like, damn, like I should start
Maybe
working
I
out.
need
So
to
I started working out
follow
at like
this
senior
guy.
year. Yeah, and
Okay,
that's where like I started to see like my body start to
let's
develop,
go.
right?
Yeah.
Like we started working out together too. And when I wasn't working out with him, I was just continuing to work out, taking the protein, taking the steroid. No, I'm just kidding.
The butt injection, the arm
Yeah.
injection.
Yeah. And that's what gave me more confidence too. I mean, I was still scared to approach and like nervous and all this stuff. The adrenaline it would never stop, but that gave me a little bit more confidence, right? So I do believe that every guy
Yeah.
should definitely work on their physical.
Right. No, exactly. I think that's such a huge point because like,
Yeah.
one thing that I don't know where I probably saw like a video. It was like, hey, like if you're just only trying to talk and communicate with women, then you're also not in the best space because the mindset is just chasing them, right? And you want to be able to attract, which is
Yeah.
through maybe, your business and career success and also your fitness success. So it is kind of tough because then it's like, oh damn, which one should I work on? And the answer is if you can, all of them, balance it out, right?
Yeah. True.
So
Plus,
it's
it's your health too, man. At the end of the day, it's your freaking
yeah,
health.
it's
I
like
mean, dude, right? Like evolutionary side of things, like you gotta be like the provider, but you also gotta be the protector. And like if you look like a person that, can't protect anybody, like you're not really truly be honest, you're not fuckable, man. Like you don't want a girl to just be there for your money and you look like a fucking
yeah.
she wants to fuck the other dude that's like ripped and
It's
shredded.
unfortunate, and I think like with that advice, going back to what we said, like if you only worked on your finances, then unfortunately you might actually be the guy that she's just there with because of the finances, but then she finds another dude that's worked on his body and charisma a lot more attractive, and that's just such a terrible place to be, right? So,
You want to have it all. So that's why I think like you should look at yourself honestly and look at all the different areas of your life and see where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. On your strengths, double your strengths, right? And then on your weaknesses, start to strengthen them up. And if you don't know what to do get trainers, man. Get a fitness trainer that is gonna get
um,
you on maybe losing weight or gaining weight, getting muscle, or like someone like me who can help you with your dating life, expedite the process. Like, dude, there's so many ways that you can improve. Any other ways for you that we're talking about in this, like to improve their dating life? Like any other things that you did?
yeah, I mean, I think my main thing was obviously like, like building a successful routine does translate into your dating life because, women can kind of pick up on the cues, the body language. Hey, this guy takes care of himself. I think that's important. What I learned a little bit later in life was also like the grooming and like, I guess
Yeah,
style,
true.
which I wasn't that good at, to be honest. But then I worked on it a little bit and you end up feeling good about yourself as well when you
Yes.
dress well, your style is on point to your ability, right? Like we all have our own ability to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think that is important. Then if you already have a healthy routine, you're already winning because, well, you're improving your life anyway. And
Yeah.
so I think that would be the foundational thing that I would say to most guys. So you're like already working on yourself, which is already improving your life. Now, if you just throw in, actually taking action with women just here and there, that's good enough, right? So that's what I would say to, yeah, trying to get better. Uh,
Yeah.
with
There's a couple more that I just want to say really quick that I did to like really help me out. 2016, I mean, I broke my leg. I tore my ACL, my meniscus. That was like a crazy surgery that was like a 1 year recovery, like 6 months of recovery, and then like the rest was just trying to rehab. So I didn't really have like much into like working out. I mean, I can only do upper body, which was I was still doing, of course. But
yeah, yeah.
the other thing that I did was I had a friend, his name was Steve, and he came to my house one day and he was like, "Yo, dude, like you should join Toastmasters." And I was like Toastmasters, what's that? Like, is that a place to make toast? Like I was like, what is that? I already make toast really good. And he was just like, it's a place where you work on your public speaking, your presentation skills, your impromptu conversations, and you talk in front of a lot of people and you get better. And I was like, damn, like for real? Like, okay, let me try it out. So I tried it out. It was like a Monday. And I remember it was like 22 people, 20 to 25 people there. And like, I remember when they were like, "Hey, who are you? Like, can you stand up?" And like, "Why are you here?" And like that was the first thing that happened. And like from there, it was like a lot of adrenaline. Like everyone's looking at me. I have to stand up. I have to kind of talk. And I was just like, "Oh shit." So the more that I went to uh Toastmasters and I did like presentations, the more that I built more of my confidence because I got critiqued. I kept challenging myself. And then from there, once I challenged myself in the real
Great
world, it
point.
made it a
Yeah.
lot easier to like when I was around people, I can kind of tell stories, be better at, telling the art of telling stories is really key when it comes to attracting women because it's not just about being, logical and having just like mundane statements, but it's about like being engaging by how you tell the story, and
Mm.
storytelling is
Well,
just
that's a great point. I actually wish I did, I
yeah.
guess, something a little bit more, you know, like Toastmasters, where you actually go in and you work on that directly. Um, I can only imagine, man, after like
Yeah.
being in public and actually telling stories, that it would be like so easy for you one on one with somebody because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, damn, like that is
Yeah.
such a good advice for
Yeah.
maybe even the guy that's extremely shy or socially awkward,
Yes.
throwing him in the deep end of, hey man, just do it for a month or 2 months,
Yeah.
improving, getting rid of that social anxiety. Hell, I think I might even still like challenge myself to do that. It's
It's a
not the
good place,
easiest thing.
man. It's definitely a good place. And some clients that I work with, they do like improv as well. Improv is like improv classes where like they're kind of like on the go. They're kind of like making stuff up, being more creative so that whenever like you're, whenever you're like flirting with a woman, it
Yeah.
translates into like being able to improvise and kind of just be illogical and be more creative and be more engaging, right? Where you're evoking emotion. So I've had other guys that have done that. I've never done it, but um, Toastmasters really did help me out for sure. That's something
Um,
that changed my life.
no, I completely agree, especially with the Toastmasters, Pete. And like I said, like I think, depending on the guy, like we probably should push ourselves to, man, get out of the comfort zone because I know that it's just, man, it's gonna allow your social anxiety to go way down, honestly. Like, so imagine like being
Yes.
on a date and like being like, oh, it's a one-on-one. Okay, I talked to a room of 50 people, like,
Yes. Yeah.
But I
Exactly.
wanted to quickly ask you,
Yeah.
man, like, what do you think about, I guess, like being your authentic self whenever you're trying to really get better with women, right? Like, because is it really just okay to be your authentic self, or are we supposed to, as men, like actually change part of our personality to really, have the dating life that we want?
That's a really good question. So, like, do you have to change of who you are in order to attract women, or do you have to come from a place of like faking something, fake a different type of character, or like acting or something like that? Well, the best way I can answer that is like going back to high school, for example. There was this party. It was this guy named Ronnie. He had a huge house. We all went over his house, and like he would always have parties there, right? And like there'd be a lot of people there and a lot of like drinks and stuff. And that's where like I was hanging out with like Jacob and a couple of my buddies there. And like, there was girls there that were really pretty. And I remember there was this one specific moment where at the party, I'm just like sitting on a couch and there's this girl that kind of sits next to me. And she was pretty cute. And like she looks at me and she's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Hey." And then from there, I'm trying to like be myself, but
Yeah.
myself didn't know how to talk to her, how to flirt with her, how to like continue the conversation, how to ask her questions, how to be engaging, right? Like so because of this whole thing like that, she got up and just walked out, right? And then like I was just like, oh man, there's my chance. Like I blew it, right? So a lot of guys have this thing where like, I had one guy specifically that like when we did a call, he wanted to work with me. He was like, "Am I gonna change who I am? I don't want to change who I am." And I said, "No, you're not gonna change, but you're gonna be equipped with knowing how to take the conversation, how to lead the conversation to where you want to go." And then from there, being more engaging, learning how to evoke emotion, learning how to do it in your own language, your own words. I'm not, because he's like, I don't want to come off scripted. I don't want to like kind of reread the
Sure.
script. It's not about reading a script, it's about understanding how kind of like that
I'm
example that I
imagining
gave you.
like, you sending him in there with like a complete script and like a flow
Yeah.
diagram. And it's like,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
says like you have to go
Yeah.
to the T, man? Like, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
if you've never made an approach, like, like that's what they think. And it's like, bro, like, you might
Yeah.
want something for the opener, but like after that, you gotta
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
figure out your own style, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like my whole thing was like once I understood like what I needed to do, it changed everything. Then you can kind of be more quote unquote natural, right? You can
yeah.
anytime, any place, anywhere, you can just be good. You can be socially calibrated and it can be engaging. And that's really makes a difference in results. And going back to Toastmasters, just one little thing. All the stories that I created that I presented when I was freaking super like the adrenaline was just going through my whole
Yeah.
body because I took a story and I created it for my own life. That story was for the rest of my life. I can speak wherever about that story. So like if it was like a date or like just with friends, I can just go back and insert the story that I constructed from Toastmasters, and it just be
Hey.
I'll be telling a story that's really engaging in my sleep. So like to me that like I really do believe that like being able to combine all the things and adding it into your arsenal. It's
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
like you
yeah.
having your own arsenal and just combining things from
Do you
every single thing that you learn.
recommend, I guess, like a certain amount of time when it comes to this Toastmasters or something similar to really for it to take hold, in your opinion? Is there, like a timeline that you were like, no, like I feel good now. I did this for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or is it,
Yeah.
like, do you have kind of like a timeline with that?
Man, like honestly, like probably the cool response would be like 2 months,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we're not talking about just a little bit, right? We're talking about like sharpening the skill for life, right? So like a good year, like you go once a week for 1 hour. You can
Okay.
even skip, you can even go twice a month, right? I really
Right.
do believe being consistent, being able to go there, present, that is going to really maximize your the way that you conversate with people,
Fair
right?
enough.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So Encore, why do you think like in today's generation, like so many people are incels?
Yeah, man. So
Like, why do they have such a victim mindset? Like, why are people like being incels or like MGTOW, right? Why are they
yeah,
doing that?
yeah. That's a great question. So I think it's very nuanced, but one of the biggest things, like you already kind of alluded to, is the victim mentality. But I think some of these guys, they probably did try and they had, let's say, even if it's just like two or three really, really bad experiences, it's almost like, hey, that's me now. Like it's almost embedded, right, into their brain that
True.
all women are toxic, all women are
Yeah.
terrible. They treat, like, and I guess if you've
Yes.
only had, imagine
Yes.
like the 2 to 3 terrible experiences, and then
Yeah.
you go online, and now
Uh,
everyone's validating that, like, nah,
yes.
like women,
Boom.
you know.
Stacking.
So then it's just
Yes.
like, all right, no, like it gets further embedded, and it becomes your identity and belief that relationships are not worth it, women are not worth it. Um,
Yes.
and like I myself have had some, you know, negative experiences, but I think I knew that there are still good women out there. Um, and it's my job to be able to like learn from the negative experience and continue to move forward, right? So, um, but I can totally see it, man, especially if, like you're not like conventionally attractive, so it's like difficult to already spark up that attraction. Now you've had 3 or 4 negative experiences, and now you're some forum or whatever that's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. That was horrible what happened. And now you're just like,
Yeah.
fuck this, I'm out.
Mm.
So whether it's MGTOW or just, I guess, incel thing, if you stay in that echo chamber, man, I think it's just so easy to just stay there forever, unfortunately, for these people.
How do you think they can get out?
Yeah, I think it's gonna come down to rewiring your
They
belief.
can't.
I
Just kidding.
mean,
Hey, that's somewhat of I said.
unfortunately,
That's actually reality, dude. Some people,
yeah,
no matter what you try to do, like you can't save them. That's what I realized. Like you can't save everybody.
yeah, yeah. It's like that. You know, I don't know if you've heard of that crab mentality where like the crab is trying to get out of the bucket
Oh
and
yeah.
like the other crabs pull them down because there's no way they're getting out. So like if one guy is like slowly like seeing the light and crawling out of
Yes.
that bucket, you know, like they're
Yeah, that
pulling him
is,
down because they
yes.
don't believe that it works for them. So yeah, like you're right. And I think you can't save everybody. I'm sure in your experience, bro, you've also worked with a lot of guys and maybe some guy you were just like, it's just not gonna work for whatever reason. Um, so maybe it's just easier, right? Because like let's go back to, I guess, like working on yourself and taking action. It sometimes if you're like have zero experience, it's just so much more comfortable to stay there, right? In your internet forum or with your three, four terrible negative experiences. And just it's a safety and comfort zone in that, you know, it's what you know. But I don't know. I think like you have to be like decide like, is this really what's gonna be my life for the, you
Mhm.
know, for the next X, Y, Z years? And this spans the whole spectrum, by the way, Pete. Like, it's not like, you know, there's some guys, maybe sure they're incels, but there's guys that have been married for 20 years and then they get either divorce raped or whatever. And then they stop, right? And so like it's across the board. And
Yep, yep,
I think I've
yep.
heard a lot of these stories, but you know, you got to change that core belief somehow, whether you get a therapist, whether they work with you. I know there's one NLP coach that you know what like so this is hard, right? I can't imagine a guy like being like, yeah, I'm gonna work on this and do it because they're already so victim mindset. So that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it's gonna
true.
take, I think.
True, true. I do believe that the reason why a lot of people are incels is because they've had it in their past experience in their life. They've had something where they got cheated on, or they had a high school or college crush, and like they wanted to ask her out, and then she just completely like blew them out, or maybe picked some they're like the rival, some other
Mm,
rival guy, and then she went with him, and
yeah.
they're just having like a sour taste of like, in their mouth of women, and they're just like all their experiences have led to like believing that because of like a couple experiences in their life that all women are like this, right? And then they just go in just angry, and they're like, I need to talk. I need to tell my thoughts, and then just go online and just sharing their thoughts, and all the other guys are
The
just like,
voice.
nah, 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 nah. And everyone's just like feeding this, and it's just like a feeding
Jeffrey.
frenzy of
Yeah.
like,
No, I get
yeah, of
it.
like just so much like being victims in their life, because here's the thing, all of us guys, I do believe no matter who you are, we've all had challenges in our life. We've all had like rejections. We've all like probably got cheated on if you like try to like date women. We've all had that girl that we liked and like she went with someone else. We've all been crushed. We've all like life has thrown a lot of freaking, curveballs at our
It's part of
life.
being a man, right?
And what the losers are gonna do is they're gonna just, let
Wallow in
life.
self-pity.
Exactly. Stay in the mud. Stay there and then just, be victims. The winners, they're gonna use those things kind of like we're talking about as like those challenges, those adversaries to like become even stronger, to become even better, to become even wiser, right? Like I used to think like when I got cheated on like a long time ago, like my first relationship, that I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. All women, because I thought the same thing. I was like, all women are the same. Like
Were you
I
about to
thought
go
like
into the
all women
internet
are
forum,
nice
Pete?
and roses and rainbows and like no women is bad. They're all good,
Yeah,
right?
the fairy
And then as
tale.
soon as I found out that she was with like a dude that was like 40 years old when I was like in my early 20s, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
I never want to get married. Da, 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 right? And that was like my thought. And I was just like, you know what? So I had this like hate and like rage that I
Yeah,
had, right? But
fair enough.
what did I do was I improved on myself, and I used the motivation as like the pain that I had, the pain of like I don't want to be there, and that's how I improved. And guess what? Years later, when I met my wife, when I met Delara, and we've been together for 7 years, I'm happy. I'm grateful that that moment in my life happened, because if it wasn't for those moments in my
Learn.
life, I never would have met Delara,
Yeah.
right? I would have
Yeah, one
never.
one
And I
quote
wouldn't
that I
never
really
know if she was
like.
actually good or not, right? I wouldn't know. So I do believe, like, I don't know who says this, but it's like trauma is actually good for a man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Challenges
Absolutely.
are
There's
good for a man. And it's the way
builds
how, what you
character.
think, how you reframe it.
Right.
I
Yeah,
do
no,
believe that.
absolutely. You need it, and I think like any man that has had too soft of a life, it's going to be hard for him to really build
Yes.
confidence because you have to
Yes.
overcome things.
Yep.
And I think it works in the opposite for women, right? Too much trauma actually damages them. And a
Yeah.
lot of trauma actually for men
Yes.
is really good if you rise
Yeah.
up from it, right?
Yes.
One
Only if you
quote
can learn.
just to kind of encapsulate your,
Ooh,
I
let's
think
go. Let's hear
I don't know who
it.
says this, but I really like this. It's like, if you're happy now, then you shouldn't, and you can't really have any regrets from all the past experiences that made you who you are today. Like, you can't regret any of those experiences. Like, if you're happy now with your relationship and your marriage, how can you regret anything that's happened to you?
Yes.
Right. So, I'm not, sa- you know, I'm not sure if I'm saying it completely correct, but the whole point is like, if you hadn't had those heartbreaks and the negative experiences, and you're good now, like you're happy with your life, then how could you have arrived at this point without those negative experiences?
Mhm.
Right? Hopefully that makes sense. But
I get what you're saying. I get what you're
yeah.
saying.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I mean, like hopefully like whoever's watching and is kind of in that mindset, they kind of take the time to work on that mindset and kind of shift a little
Join a
bit.
community, man. Join a community of guys
Yeah.
that actually are positive, like they think positive and they want to take action and they've also had challenges, but they're still wanting to improve on their life, not stuck in the mud, man. If you're around friends who are freaking just pessimistic about life, dude, you got to get the fuck
Oh
out of
man.
them because they're
Rubs
gonna
off on
infect
you,
you
man.
with their disease, man. It becomes a disease is freaking like infectious, man. It's gonna fucking infect you, and once it infects you, you're done. You're gonna die, right? And I don't mean like physically, I mean like mentally. Once it's done here,
Figuratively.
it's
Yeah.
done everything else, right? So you gotta go,
Environment,
you
like just
gotta
like you
switch.
said, like you actually improved with the community environment,
Yes,
and seeing some of the guys that are
yes,
good and successful. And so if you're
yeah,
if your environment is building you up, you're gonna get built up. I mean, that whole cliche thing, average of five people,
yeah.
and all that, even though it's cliche, it's true, man. Environment is destiny. I really like that quote because it's
Ooh,
literally,
love it.
building you either up or down.
Yeah,
So you really got to
yep.
audit your circle.
So the next question is, like, let's say that you're looking for a wife. What are some things that you notice that
Mhm.
like they're just not wife material, and also the
Yeah,
opposite of like what is a good wife? Go
for
ahead.
sure. I mean, I'll try to answer that to the best of my ability. And obviously, like, I'd love to get your take because you're actually married, right? So, I think it is a little bit personal, right? Someone can have certain red flags that someone else would not. But I think, anything in excess, right? So for me personally, like, let's say a woman has an excess amount of either tattoos or is really into drugs and alcohol, like an excessive amount, I think that says a little bit about that person's character, right? Like a little bit of impulsivity, like, okay, cool, like you got something that's meaningful is fine, but then having tattoos all across your body, I think there's a little bit of impulsivity. That could be a red flag. If you're drinking and partying every single weekend, that's kind of also like I think showing a little bit of impulsivity that you're kind of chasing that dopamine rush. So for me personally, I wouldn't want someone that's not living a healthy lifestyle, right? Um, so that's one thing, right? Um, I think another thing is if you just are have too many like just guy friends that are just not, like actual real genuine relationships, right? Like I'm talking it's almost like they maybe are pursuing you, but you've kind of friend zoned them. And now it's just kind of like a lot of communication with, male friends. I think there's certain categories that maybe will work only in very specific situations. Maybe you know someone from childhood, you've kept up with them or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
but an excess amount of them, I think, is kind of like a red flag because if you're in a relationship, a lot of that emotion should come from your man, right? In my personal opinion. Um, so that's number two. And then thirdly, I would also say, like, again, going back into too much excess is too much of social media where you're posting provocative pictures and stuff like that because you're trying to get way too much validation from other people and strangers, and that's essentially again should be reserved if you're in a serious relationship for the person that you're with, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously like it's cool to post about cool things that you're doing, but then if you're doing that, you're kind of advertising, right, to the world
Yep.
that hey, maybe I'm potentially available. So those are kind of like the three that I kind of would start with.
Those are good. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so but I want to hear from you, Pete, as well, now that you've actually been married for a couple of years now, right? So like with that being said, like what are the red flags that I guess you specifically knew from having enough experience, and how did you ultimately pick your wife, or why did that work for you?
Yeah. So a couple red flags that I see, like for the guys that are looking for, the right woman, we're talking about for life, right? This is for life. This isn't a couple years and then you get divorced, right? We're talking about for life, no matter what, right? So when I looked at it like that, like this is for life, I had to make sure that I was choosing wisely. I had to make sure that the woman that I was dealing with had these certain qualities that are wife material. Because I want, like, for example, if you know that you're dating someone, you want to make sure that you're proud to have her as, like, when you guys have kids, that she's going to be a good mom to your kids, right?
Yeah.
Like you can see that she's going to be a great mom, right? Like very nurturing, very, very sweet, very loving, right? These are the things that I was looking for. A little bit more feminine, right? I'm not looking for this boss
You're
masculine woman.
not.
I'm already masculine
You don't.
itself, right? If
You
there's
don't
two
want your
masculine
woman to pay
people,
all
I'm not
your
really.
bills, man?
Yeah, if I want a masculine woman, man, I'll, like shit. Yeah, I always tell guys like, if you want a fucking girl like that, you marry a guy. You know what I'm
Hey
saying?
man, you've told me stories, so
Yeah, yeah,
let's not go down
exactly.
that rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah. So like yeah, I wanted a feminine woman because I always wanted, I love that energy that they have, right? So those are the things that I'm looking for. And I'm obviously like looking for someone who was attractive. But
So those are the green flags, right?
attraction is one thing. Really, that's the big thing that I see a lot of guys. They just choose a woman, like they get
Just
married or
purely,
something just
yeah.
because she's hot, and then they disregard all the freaking red flags, man. I'm
Right.
sure you know some people, or you've heard, or you know, you've
Yeah,
been in
yeah,
this
sure. I
too,
mean,
right? You
you're
you
like,
know, right? And then they get
yeah,
divorced, right? They get cheated on, etc., right? Because they're
surprise,
just not.
surprise. Yeah.
So for me, I didn't want a woman that like was way too like. I'll give you an example. I like when I was single, I went out to this place called Backyard. Backyard is like a bar slash like little dance place. And I met this girl. She was cute. She was a blonde chick. And we hit it off or whatever. And then, we started dating and like she was,
Yeah.
she was hot, right? But the thing was, she always wanted to go out every
Yeah,
weekend,
yeah.
right? And for me, I didn't really want to go out every weekend. I don't mind going out and having a
Every
good
once in a
time.
while, yeah.
Well, like sometimes I just want to have my weekends where I'm chilling. I'm watching a movie. I'm watching like a Harry Potter marathon. I'm watching like a Dragon Ball marathon. You know what I mean? My nerdy stuff.
There you go,
Or
man.
I'm just like chilling, watching YouTube videos or whatever, right? With like with the person that I'm
I
with.
get it. I'm the
But
same way. Yeah.
sometimes she would be like, no, 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 let's go out this weekend. And I'm like, no, let's just relax. She's like, no, I don't want to relax. I have my friends that are inviting me out. I'm like, oh, man, like, and at the time I didn't really like, wasn't like
You were
I'm not
probably a
dating her
little bit
long enough
younger.
to where I should be jealous. I'm like, but in the
No.
deep in my mind, I like she would go out still, and I'd be like at home chilling. In my head, I'm like, while I'm chilling, I'm like having a gray hair, thinking about like, her friends, her drinking, other guys hitting on her because she's
Yeah, of
hot. And
course.
I'm like, do I see this girl as like a wife material for future? And then right there, my answer was like, no, I don't. Right? If she
Mhm.
doesn't even want to hang out with me, she wants to go out get drunk and make bad decisions. Well, I got to emotionally detach from the situation. So that's what I would do. I would immediately just be like, she's not wife material. I'm detached from this. And then
Yeah.
from there, I don't get hurt, right? And I realize like, okay, while this is going on, she's not wife. Let me keep going. Let me keep
Yeah,
searching.
yeah. That
And
makes
then
sense.
I find out like after that, like she would be like with another guy, and then they went out to like Big Bear or something. I saw a picture and stuff, and like it was like on Instagram. I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I knew it. Like it already
Yeah.
knew, but I already knew. It just kind of stung, but I was like, I knew that this. So that's a big one right there is like a girl who always wants to party, go out, and like has friends that are single that are giving that single energy. Because you know, when you go out to the bar club, guys go there for one thing only. They're there to hook up. They're there to approach women, liquid courage. Let's go and talk to girls, you know. And women, if they're going there, they like that attention. So for me, that's a big thing right there. It's a difference if, you know, they like, you know, we're like barely dating and they're going out and, you know, da, 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 but all the time,
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
No, huge red
Also,
flag for sure.
also another one is like women who want to like rave. Like they want to rave, they want to do these crazy go to these rave
Yeah,
concerts.
man.
Like all those women
Well,
who are
that's
doing
exactly
raves.
where, yeah, like that environment. Most of those environments are literally there. Both people are getting together to try to hook up or talk to
Yeah.
the opposite sex. So I feel you on that. It looks like you kind of knew right away, or did it take you a little while to like put that together? Like how long were you actually dating this woman kind of seriously? Was it for a while, or did you just pick it up?
Couple months, man, but within you know within a month, I already knew. I was like, ah, you know, and based off of my other experience where I got cheated on, I was like, yeah, it's already like same. So I just was like, yeah, you know, keep going. No, I'm not gonna take it personal anymore because I know that this is the type of girl that's not wife material. But let's keep going. You know, fuck it. My vision is bigger than what she's doing, right? So I just kept moving forward, right? So that's one. And then like the rave girls that do Molly, that do crazy stuff, the ones that like dress in outfits and stuff, and like they're doing crazy like drugs and stuff like that. They're doing the same thing. You go out, they're going out, they're like basically
But Pete,
like
they're so much fun, and you know they know how to dance and they're
you know, if
attractive.
you know, if listen, man, if you're there to have a good time, sure, right? But if you're there to find a wife, like definitely red flag, dude. That's for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
right? That's me. Some guys, fuck it, who cares? Right? But these are the
Yeah.
things I was looking for. And also like, okay, no, 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 no. And then other things was like kind of what you said, like too many guy friends, because we both know if your girl is attractive and she goes out and like there's friends that are guys. Well, those guys, you know, low key in the back, they are orbiting around her world. They want to get it in as soon as possible, as whenever they can, the opportunity, they're gonna try to take the opportunity, man. And like
Yeah,
that's
that's
just the truth.
how do you suggest maybe like guys kind of navigate that? Let's say like they're getting into something a little bit more serious with a girl.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like becoming established. Um, and she does have a lot of guy friends, right? Like, is there like a right way or wrong way to like kind of establish some sort of boundary, you think?
Absolutely. So number one is you have to kind of this is what I did with Delara, but it wasn't in a bad way. It was like you got to tell them the reality of how men think,
Hmm.
right? Like, not in the beginning, because in the beginning, if you don't really like, if it's not like a serious relationship, how can you really get jealous? Then you're coming off like too needy, right?
Yeah, yeah. So this is
Like,
after, hey, you guys
so
have,
this is after
kind
you
of
guys like kind of
established
make it
that.
official, right? Once you guys make it official and this is your girl, this is, you know, you got to look at it like this is my girl, this
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
you know, my love, you know, and I'm not gonna go out with other women and I don't expect you. So you start to like if they do, which I made sure that number one, she didn't have like male. If that would happen, I probably would not be down for that. But you know, they're like just for the guys out there who maybe are with a girl that has a bunch of
yeah.
guy friends. Oh, he's just my friend, right?
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of that is like almost what's the word? Purported to be okay. Hey, you're insecure if
There's
you
actually
go
guys
out.
teaching this that are like, it's good to make friends with
Right.
women, but those guys are also sleeping with them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like they asked him like, "Oh, you have a lot of female friends, but you are you sleeping with them?" Yeah, I am, but that doesn't really matter though. I'm like, what? What do you? Exactly my point, right?
Yeah.
So there's obviously like if you're playing like chess and you like maybe want to have more social status in a situation, you bring girls because you're kind of using them to get other women to see you as a higher value.
Yeah.
It kind of makes more sense, right? But even those type of girls that you're trying to attract, like at the club, if you're like getting the VIP table and you have a bunch of women, the woman that the woman that you're attracting is not going to be wife material. She's
Mm.
like at the in Vegas, you know, freaking partying all the time, living there, you know, doing
Yeah, like
bad things, going
you're
all the things that we're talking about. So they're not actually wife material. Yeah, is it good to have fun and do those things to hook up? Yeah, it's good for that. But we're talking about life partner,
yeah.
right?
That's a good point. I think, for everyone that's watching, like I hope you can kind of see the almost different categories that we're talking about when we're talking about a meaningful life partner relationship versus, hey, I'm just having fun and like a casual relationship. There's huge differences. And I think that's where you're
Yeah.
talking about the red and green flags, right? Like if you're not
Right.
serious, then a lot of these things might not be your red flags, right? So,
Yeah.
it's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And I think, karma is very real as well. So if you're just using somebody, that's probably going to happen to you at some point, you know?
Yeah.
So just something to keep in mind. But I think, it just depends where your headspace is at and what your goals are. Like if you're looking truly for that meaningful life partner, I think what Pete is saying is like, hey, like these are important red flags. Whether it's like the raver chick or whether it's, hey, clubbing every weekend, and all of those different
Yeah.
things that actually genuinely, deep down is not going to be the person for you. So
True. True. Yeah, and you gotta like the thing is having an abundance mindset, you get to really like detach yourself from that situation. Like, okay, this is not the right girl, that's fine. You accept it, you move on, right? The guys who don't have any abundance, they're gonna stay there and they get abused and just get used and they're gonna get hurt and then they're gonna get back into maybe being an incel or going MGTOW, right? Or just like continue to attract the wrong women. So it really comes into a game of like understanding, right? So one quite like the answer to answer your question of what you said, like how would you say it to a girl
yeah,
if she had a bunch of friends? Once that you guys are established, I mean, you tell her like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not talking to any other women. Like, are you like, I'm not, I deleted my dating apps. I'm not, if there's women that are trying to like come after me, I'm just not going to talk to them anymore because, you're my girl and that's it. And like the way that I see a relationship one-on-one is exclusively one-on-one. And that's how I see it. And like, I'm going to be faithful. So what about you? How do you feel? Are you in the same page as me? And then you want her to validate what you're saying and also be on the same page as you. One might be like, oh, you're insecure, da, 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 all this stuff. Dude, once again, like there's an agenda to this, right?
yeah,
She's saying, hold on a sec. You don't like, you're insecure, da, da, da. She's gonna almost like reframe it that you're the one, it's your fault, right? That's a fucking red flag.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
red flag.
Well, I
And that's
think
where you
you
got to set the
also,
frame. There's a frame battle there going on, right? And the frame battle is super important because one frame is going to be bigger than the other, and one is going to eat the other, right?
yeah, yeah,
You got to
absolutely.
go back and you got to hold frame. And it comes from your mindset. It comes from an abundance mindset and self-esteem. If you have a strong self-esteem, you're going to tell her, hey, listen, like the way guys are, if you have this friend here and this, dude, you're an attractive girl. If you go out, like they're gonna try to make the moves on you. Like I'm telling you, this is
Yeah.
how men
Yeah,
think.
you
Like
almost have to red pill your woman, right? And then also one thing
you have
that
to you have to train her how men think, and then she starts to read like, oh, you're right, and now she starts to tell you, right? And another thing too is the corporate world too is another one that a lot of people don't talk about,
Mm.
right? How to show her that the corporate world is also like there's certain things in
Yeah,
there. There's like
absolutely. You're
there's
spending so
boundaries
much
that
so
you
much
need to go
time with
because
those people.
what do you call them? Like they call corporate boyfriend, right? Oh, he's my corporate boyfriend,
Work
right?
husband,
Work husband, something like that, right?
something like
So
that. Yeah,
this is
work
where the guys like
husband.
have like not every guy is going to be in a relationship with like their wife is like wants to stay at home and
Yeah,
to traditional.
homemaker,
Most of it
caretaker.
is modern, right? Like where both people are,
Yeah, because now right
working.
now, times are tough. A lot of times both people have to go to work.
Yeah,
It's a luxury to have, I think, your woman
majority of
in.
people, man has a job, women has a job, they both go somewhere, and wherever their woman goes, if she's like doing some type of job where she works long hours and there's guys there, those guys are also trying to sneak in their way in. You know what I mean? And like that's
Yeah,
something where you got
absolutely.
to
I
teach
think,
them.
one thing, of course, we're talking about, hey, like, we're in an exclusive relationship and, these parameters have been set, right? So,
If
that's
there's
number
no right,
one.
there's no wrong, then how then like you know what I mean? There's got
Well,
to be a right or wrong on both sides. Like you guys both see it the same thing. If not, that's where, well, there was never a conversation about it. Let me continue flirting with this guy. Oh, he asked me for Snapchat. Well, we're snapping on
yeah. And
Snapchat.
as,
Oh, it's friendly stuff, right? No, this is the stuff that leads into infidelity, dude. You
yeah.
know?
And I don't know if you've heard of that thing where it's like death by a thousand cuts, where if you kind of allow like a small thing like that and you don't speak up whenever you hear about it, it's going to slowly fester. And what do you think is going to happen, right? When there's
Yeah.
like a issue
True.
in the relationship, who is she going to jump to? Like the
Yeah.
guy friend that's been around for a long time? And you just
Yes.
know, right? So I think
Yes.
it's addressing it
Yes. Hey,
whenever
oh
you
my
kind of
God, he's hurting you? Like pretend it's her. I'm the guy at work and it's just her. He's being mean to you. Oh, you deserve better. Come here. Come here.
I feel
This
like
is
you have
literally what
experience
how
with
guys
this.
they're weasels, man. You know, this is how men operate.
Well, and then one thing I want to add is like always felt, and I've actually said this is, how authentic are those male friendships, right? Because like when you're friends, essentially, like I don't know, like you don't have a romantic interest, right? So if one party has a romantic interest, and it usually is that way if it's like a man and a woman, then how authentic is it really, right? In my opinion, if you weren't attractive or,
Yeah.
whatever is, the reason men are attracted to you, if you didn't have that, would that guy be talking to you? Because if you're just friends, then there should be no romantic interest. But if there is, then it's actually not a genuine relationship. So that's partly also, I personally believe that, unless there's like kids involved or something like that, you shouldn't actually be in contact with your exes because usually one party has maybe some feelings left over that are stronger than the other
Always.
party.
Always.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not an authentic friendship. Like
Yeah.
if somebody wants to be friends with me after the relationship has ended, essentially, probably one of us is going to have stronger feelings. So how authentic is that anyway? And then if
Yeah.
you're in another relationship with somebody, then that's a disservice to them in the first
Yeah.
place because emotionally you're
Definitely.
not fully there. So
True.
just something I wanted to allude to as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't want
Absolutely.
any like relationships that are not authentic and being friends just for the sake of it or being friends is to me a disservice to both of us.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So, but yeah, man. So thanks for kind of answering that. I think
Mhm.
was there anything further you wanted to add to that, by the way? Like I think you pointed out the red flags. Was there any like specific green flags? I think you said, just to, nurture, feminine, good mother. Was there anything else you
Has
wanted to
good
add?
values, you know. She wants to, one of her biggest dreams is to be a mother, is to, have a family as well, right? It's not this whole thing like, I don't really know if I want to have family. I don't really know. Da, da, da. She's like on the fence. She's on the fence. Like you either have to like persuade her or like tell her like, okay, what's going on? What's the reason? Like what, like, okay,
Mm.
why do you not want to do it? Like, this is one of my goals in life. Like, where's this coming from? Right. And then she'll tell you, but like, if she's like kind of against that, that's a huge thing too. You know what I mean? And
Okay. So she's literally
that's the thing that
not
I
ready
with
to.
Delara, the longer that we were dating, the more that we were talking about the vision of our life, of what we wanted in our life. We wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a great, coming back to like my dad wasn't there. I wanted to give my family something that I didn't have when I had kids and also
Beautiful,
with my
bro.
wife. You know what I mean? I wanted to break the generational curse, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing. And she also wanted that too. She came from a place that her parents weren't, they didn't end up like, didn't end up working out, but she also wanted the opposite of that, working out. And like no matter what, when it gets tough, you guys are going to fight for each other because nowadays it's so easy. Couple fights. Oh, let's break up. Oh,
Yeah.
let me go back on the apps. There's so many
The
choices.
illusion of
Oh,
options.
corporate husband, right, etc. Right. So you gotta fight for your relationship. And I think a lot of times now we're living in a world where there really is no like wanting to fight anymore. People abandon ship right away. They surrender. So you gotta have to find someone who the vision, you guys have that vision. And the Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. You guys have to have a vision together and you fight for it. Because if,
Yeah.
if you guys don't have anything, all the outside distractions, influence, it's gonna
Yeah,
destroy
no,
it.
that's a great point. And I
That's
100% agree
Satan
with that. Like
destroying the fucking
both
relationship, man. That's
people
the
have to
devil.
kind of be moving into a life
Yes.
together that makes sense, right? And
Yeah.
if you don't have that long-term plan, I mean, what are you really doing? I mean, sure, maybe you're, kind of there in the moment having a little bit of fun, but eventually it's going to die out, so you should emotionally detach. for sure.
You obviously like want to connect too. Like we're not talking about connection, but like you want to have someone that is like your lover, but also like your best friend too.
Life
Like
partner. Yeah.
someone that you like you can talk about anything. You can get like into very deep conversations and you guys can
Sure.
keep going. And it doesn't just have to be about going to like trips. You know, I notice a lot of times people all their fun is based off of like vacation, going to
Travel.
Ibiza, going to Spain, going to da 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 da, and they can't live in the mundane of just the everyday life because really reality is like a relationship that you're with that partner you're living with them. It's most of the majority of the time is going to be in the mundane. So like if you can't even enjoy just like watching a movie with that person and just shooting the shit with them, and you need some external thing to be happy, that's not a really good thing. So it's good to like when you're in a relationship, just hey, let's watch a movie. Hey, let's get takeout. Let's da da da.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
she should be your best friend. Talk about everything, right? A lot of times people are like, oh, like you're not supposed to. Da, da, da. I disagree. I think like I believe that like love is like your life partner is your lover and your best friend. You know,
Yeah.
so
That's fair enough. That's fair.
what I think too.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move into the next thing. I want to ask you if you were dating a girl and she told you that she said, "Hey, Encore, my friends and I have been talking and like, in like 3 weeks, it's my girlfriend's birthday and she wants to go to Vegas. And like we all want to go to Vegas for the whole weekend. Like, I want to go to Vegas. Like, is it okay if I go? Right? What
Yeah,
would you do in
funnily
that?
enough,
What would you do?
I've been kind of in a similar situation, right?
Okay.
I think it was a hard conversation. I think on one hand, I think every relationship needs some independence. That's where your attractive qualities come in, right? Like you do have to have some of your life, your hobbies, etc. That's what attracts one another. Um, but on the other hand, like I don't know. I think that, especially like for a woman, any woman that truly loves and respects the relationship and is serious about her man, a lot of times they don't want to, even go on like a vacation far away without them, because they want that protection. They like hanging out together. So to me, like I'm kind of against these girls' trips things unless honestly you know the friends of the girls and like they're just really good people. They're also maybe in a relationship and they just want that bonding time, which I still think is rare, right? I think a lot of times these girls' trips revolve around girls that are single, that want to go have fun, that want to party. So
Depends. I would say it depends on that.
yeah, that's so in my
Because
opinion,
how many relationships that you know too that like a girl is in like she's married or whatever, but she fucking hates her husband, right?
that's and
Fucking
that's why
the guy
like
lost frame. She's not attracted to him anymore because he's not chasing
yeah,
his
she's
purpose.
looking
Da,
and
da, da,
then
da, da.
she's
So she's looking
putting
for something else, right? But
herself
she's
yeah,
married. But
yeah.
just because she's married doesn't mean that like
Yeah,
that's like
marriage,
logical.
yeah, like it's all
That's
about
it,
the
right?
connection, like putting a big blanket of marriage.
It
It
depends.
just
I think that one depends. Depends. Yeah.
yeah, it depends. I think I definitely lean that way where like it is something that you should have a conversation about and also like your gut feeling is real, right? Like if your woman is like, I want to do this, but you can tell there's no animosity about it, like she genuinely wants to connect with her best friend and you know that best friend, like, you know what I mean? Maybe there's a chance, not Vegas, bro, but like something else, right? I don't know. Um,
Yeah, that's a dinner.
yeah,
That's a
exactly,
dinner. That's a
exactly.
wine night with a friend going to a nice restaurant with her
Right,
friends.
right,
Those
exactly.
are hanging out around the house. Those are, there's so many things that she can do with her friends to catch up with her friends. Why does it have to be Vegas? Think about it. If you go to Vegas, dude, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to Vegas and I'm gonna go to the clubs with the boys, and you're like married or you have like a
Yeah.
woman that you
What does that
like,
mean?
it's
Like,
really
it's like
hard to
pretty
like when
obvious.
you're there and you're drinking and there's girls, like you're just putting yourself in a territory where it's very hard to like, just all right, I'm here, like
Yeah, and I
maybe.
think I'm sure you
But
heard of that.
but for
Like,
a girl to go to Vegas and no matter if they're married or not, and there's drinking involved, and those guys there who are in freaking Vegas, their whole goal is to hook up with women and approach women, right?
yeah,
Like that's like when I was at the club and bars, that was my goal. Was like, all right, I'm gonna go out and try to talk to girls and da da da, right? So like I know how men are. So like for me, I wouldn't do it personally, like to go to Vegas or like go to the clubs. Maybe like if I had like something else that was like a network, like a like networking, right? Like business, like a conference or something like that, or like a jiu-jitsu tournament or something like that. Maybe go out with the boys to the casino or something, right? But to go to the fucking club, to the bars, I personally wouldn't do it because I respect my wife and I love her, right? And I know that like if I put myself in a territory where there's a bunch of hot women and I'm drinking, I'm fucked
Temptation,
up,
right?
like it's yeah, dude, like that's I'm not gonna do so. I therefore I don't expect her to do it either. So
Yeah.
that's just
Well,
my thing. I personally wouldn't, but I think it just a depends factor
you're
for me.
so misogynistic, Pete. I can't believe that you wouldn't
I
allow
follow the
your
same thing
wife.
though. I also apply. Yeah.
Just joking. No, I think we agree. I think it's
Yeah.
it can be a little tough because you want your partner to be happy and have that independence. But the truth is, like, again, I do believe that a woman that truly loves you and respects you, she doesn't really want to put herself in a compromising
There you
situation in the
go.
first place.
There you go.
You know,
Exactly.
like, have you heard? I'm sure you've heard of that. What is that? That Lamborghini example, or like, like, so it's very simple, right? Like, you know, just because my car has locks doesn't mean I'm going to park it in the hood, right? So do you
Got
get the
it.
analogy there where essentially just because even if you trust your woman doesn't mean that you should put her in a bad
Oh
environment.
yeah, yeah. There you
So
go.
like the
That's a good
car,
one.
like you
That's a
have
good
a
example.
supercar,
Yeah.
it's like you trust the locks on it, but then if you put it in the hood or if you put it in a bad environment, it's going to be tested and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
shouldn't come to the point where it's tested in the first place, right?
Yeah. And
So
same thing like if a girl like gets approached, like if Delara gets approached, which she does still, she tells me she knows how to handle that. That's another thing too, is like if, my wife, who's an attractive woman, gets approached somewhere and I'm not there because I'm working, she's gonna know how to handle that. I don't need to go in there, and even if I'm there, I don't even need to go in there. But it's not like they're gonna do it. But even if that's that's the case, I don't even need to do anything because she knows it's like, hey, I'm freaking married. Hey, some women. Oh yeah, how's it going? Da, da, da,
there
da,
you
da.
go.
They'll keep going,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And they'll do it
absolutely.
behind your back, right? So you have to have that trust, which I do. But at the same time, they have to know how to handle it too and not like continue to do it because there's a lot of women out there who are not happy with the person that they choose. I also think that women don't choose their sometimes they don't choose the right person either. It goes both ways, man. Right? So
It's unfortunate, yeah. And
yeah,
I think that's where you allow those things to happen, where because you're
yeah,
not truly genuinely in love with that person. So, you know.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things right there. We can get even deeper, but like let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. So what's the next question here? Oh, another one is like, what happens if you're in a relationship and like, let's say you're dating a girl for a year, right? Let's just say stick to 1 year for,
Yeah.
and you're dating her and like, let's say that she posts on Instagram all the time, like at least a couple times a week, right? Herself. But in her Instagram, there's no pictures of you. What
Yep.
what does that mean?
Absolutely. And it's funny again, like a lot of these things have some have been experiences that I'm speaking from experience. And I think if it's been a year, then it is a serious relationship
Serious.
to a degree, right? And unfortunately, if that's happening, the girl doesn't see, in my opinion, you as like a life partner or a long-term partner, because if she did, then she would be actually happy and proud to, show you around a little bit, right? Like if that is supposed to be your man or your guy, eventually,
What is the key
uh,
word right there? Proud.
right. Yeah. No,
If your woman
absolutely.
loves you and she posts all the time, well, of course she's gonna want to be proud of
Yeah, and it's
posting
one of
as
those
well.
things in a lot of ways. Obviously a lot of these things they really show um a lot of different things about a woman because if you are trying to get attention from, other people and others, some of that attention is going to go away if you post your man. But if you're truly love and respect him, you're more than happy to do it. So, like that in itself could be like one of those things that we talked about with the red flags, because if you're not willing to do that, then you don't actually genuinely see this relationship going, I think, the distance. And you have to be okay with that. I think like, if you're a guy, you have to realize kind of like you realize with the, that, blonde chick that you met at the bar that, okay, look, like she's not going to be wifey, right? Like it's or she's not going to be like a long-term committed partner.
Yeah.
And you kind of put that in that box and you have to be okay with knowing and trying to detach as difficult as that is. Right. I think like anyone that I'm dating that I'm happy to be seen around. I would post here and there, like to a degree, right? So it's like, you just have to be really careful and accept that maybe this is what the woman is categorizing you as and not be shocked or surprised when the relationship ends.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing for a guy though too, if he's has an Instagram
Yeah.
and he doesn't post
It
his
doesn't post you.
woman,
It's
then
like
there's something there,
I'm not proud
that
of you, like and
if
to
he's
show
talking
you.
to other women and like he doesn't want to show that so that they can get angry, right? So that he can keep his rotation going. So like that's another one too, right? So I mean it goes both ways. Now there's a difference with like if you never post and like you haven't posted in like a year and like maybe you don't post your
Yeah,
partner.
that's
Well,
that's what I was gonna
fine.
say. The alternate perspective is that, hey, you're a
Yeah.
private person. You don't even want to post
Yeah, you don't
about your
have to. You
man.
don't
Maybe
have
you,
to at all.
yeah.
Exactly.
So it's almost like you kind of have to have that conversation. I think it's easy to be like, okay, she doesn't post me, so she doesn't think that I'm, a serious person for her in her life. But hey, maybe she's just barely has any posts in the first place. Maybe she's super private.
That
So
one's the
those,
yeah, it depends. But majority of people that are on Instagram posting all the time, if they
yeah,
don't post you,
that's true.
she's thinking about plan B, baby. She's thinking about, hey, can I get better? Can I do
Yeah,
better?
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Keeping the doors open. So you just have to, know and understand that,
Yeah.
because you can't like force, your woman to like post you. I mean, you should have a conversation and she should naturally want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
of
tough,
course.
man. It's tough.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
feel bad for the guys out there who, who are going through these things that we're talking about, all these red flags and like and the woman that they're dating and like they're getting hurt because in the
why
end,
why do you
you
think
know that they're getting hurt.
Yeah, and why do you think maybe like, a lot of these guys are okay and stay in these relationships? Like what do you think is the root cause? Like if you were to maybe summarize them, maybe being okay with what do we talk about?
Easy.
Male friends, okay with not posting on social media,
Vegas
okay with
trips,
girls' trips. Like if you had to,
going out, all this
yeah,
stuff, etc. Dude, one word, right? This is one thing that I've noticed. Well, I guess it's not one word.
I was gonna
But
say, okay.
really honestly, they are like passive aggressive, man. Right? A lot of people that I know are passive aggressive. And also another thing, they do not want to have uncomfortable conversations. Okay.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to confront another person. That's they like once again, when going back into like the rejection part, they're trying to avoid any type of awkwardness. They're trying to avoid, getting into something where, it's a, it's not comfortable, right? It's awkward, it's uncomfortable. This person might get upset at me. So they're trying to avoid anything to do that, right? And this is where the nice guy syndrome comes in. They're nice guys because they're trying to do that, but really they're
Not
not
always
nice.
about.
Deep down, they're fucking mad. Deep down, they're gonna do something that's passive aggressive later down the road. They're suppressing their feelings because no one ever taught them that they need to speak up for what they see, what they feel, what's going on in the situation, right? And do it in the right way. So a lot of times guys end up in these situations where they're not telling them. It's like it's crazy, but like just I like there's a lot of guys out there who like will let their girl go have a male trainer that's like a freaking, like that
Isn't that
trains
what
with his
happened
girl all
to
the time, and they're just like, oh yeah, just
Tom
go there.
Brady?
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, that's like the biggest red flag. It's like me going to yoga and having a super hot yoga teacher that's like teaching me how to be more flexible, right? Like, dude, come on, man. Like, let's go,
Oh man, that's
baby.
the
And you're not
worst.
talking about that, right? Like,
If it could happen to Tom Brady, trust me, it can happen to you. Right? Like that's because yeah,
the reality is, dude, honestly, it's that, man. It's avoiding the
the
fight,
tough
the
combos.
uncomfortable conversation. Like you got to have that. And it comes from number one, it comes from a strong mindset, abundance mindset. Number two, it comes from like understanding like that in a relationship, there has to be a little bit of jealousy that it's actually a good thing that you're like jealous because that's like you're basically like protecting your woman, right? Like there's a book by Dr. David Buss. evolutionary psychologist who says like his book is like why jealousy is like an important thing in a relationship. It's something like that, like a book. And he talks about why it's important because it shows that you care, shows that you're committed. If you're not
Yeah.
freaking a little bit jealous of what's going on, be like, yo, what is going on? Right?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
the girl's
And
not gonna really, you're gonna go back into just flirting with like whatever, or doing wrong things. So you gotta have these uncomfortable conversations, and when you have them, you talk to them, and then from there, you guys should both see the same like vision together. Like this, you guys both should be on the same page, and then move on, and the relationship should be way healthier, right? So there's ways that you can communicate. This is where I help my clients, like when they get into like in the relationship, I help them out on like just what's going on. Okay, this is what we should, this is kind of like the framework, like this is what the thing that, what's going on. I kind of listen to exactly what's going on, then we come up with game plan and just talk and be able to share that with their partner because it's important. We're talking about for life, dude. So boundaries have to be set, and boundaries help. They're healthy because you're setting these up rather the wild wild west, baby.
oh man. Well, that's kind of unfortunately what's leading to kind of like the modern dating landscape where everything is okay. You can do this and that. You can go flirt and hook up with other people, and that's okay. No, I shouldn't say anything. And it's like, I don't think a lot of people realize that, it's more attractive whenever you respect yourself and your boundaries. You're not trying to control anybody, but you're just trying to put your boundaries out there, and the right person is going to gravitate towards them, right? So
Yeah.
it's not about
And
controlling anybody, but just actually setting your boundaries that, hey, no, I don't really want to continue a relationship where a girl goes out every weekend or raves every weekend or has like 10 male friends, and you just setting that and staying with it and putting your foot down, and having that frame. And
willingness to walk away too, if she's not willing to kind of,
right,
also
and
kind of
that's
see the point
and
of
I
view.
think like if you can have the conversation that way, it just makes it so much easier to be like, hey, this is what I believe in. These are my
Yeah.
values. I'm not saying that you have to uh you have to be okay with that, but this is where I'm at, right? And if you're somewhere else, maybe, this is not going to work out for us in the long term, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then from there, she's gonna be like, "Whoa, shoot, I can lose this guy, or you know what? I don't give a fuck about this guy. Dude, yo, this guy's fucking lame. Yo, let me go
Yeah,
to another
yeah.
dude. In my DMs, baby, go on IG, baby. I got many people. I don't give a fuck about this guy, right? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's where, like I said, the strength is in the mind. Like you have to have a strong mindset, strong self-esteem about yourself, and like
Yeah.
from there,
And that's
that
where it comes full circle, right? Like all
yeah.
the habits that you build up for yourself.
Yeah, you got to learn to say no. You got to learn to be disagreeable. You can't be so agreeable and being nice because nice guys are actually nice. They're holding it in,
Yeah.
right? This is
Yeah,
my
that
true
passive aggressive.
belief. They're not actually confronting anybody, but they're in their mind. They're like, better to let it go. Let it go and just say it.
All right, Pete. So I want to know, like, what is this big community thing that you're building? You had like a big announcement. I'm curious to know, like, what exactly you have been working on and what is it called?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. So what I'm gonna do, what's in the future in the next, couple of weeks, months, I'm going to create a community. What we're going to do this on school, right? The community is going to be on school. It's going to be called Men Ignited, and it's going to be a community of guys that are kind of like us, that are go-getters. They want to improve on their personal development, their dating and relationships. And, big thing we're going to specialize in this community is going to be being able to improve their dating lives, being able to get more dates and attract their dream woman, and also be able to keep their dream woman, right? Work on the relationship skill building too. So it's going to be dating and relationship. And with that being said, that there's so many things like mindset, confidence, being able to approach, being, working on the interpersonal side with like your partner. And, the cool thing is I right now I'm only doing one-on-one with my clients. So like it's a very like high ticket coaching for my programs. So every time that I do calls, like sales calls with guys, a lot of times people can't afford my programs, right? Like that I do one-on-one with
Mm.
them. So I have to turn them down, and like it makes me really sad because I'm not just doing this for the money. I'm doing this to really like make an impact and transform like as many lives as possible because I can always go back to the time where, I had challenges in my dating life, right? And I do believe that we can all achieve our major life goal of like finding the right woman and being able to have a happy relationship.
Boom. That sounds amazing, man, because I think at the end of the day, like it's nice to, yeah, sure, like work towards your financial goals, but what I see is that you're really trying to focus on the impact, right? By being able to offer it I'm assuming it's going to be, at a much lower price point, so
Yeah.
more and more people can actually be
Yeah.
benefited, especially I think a lot of young men. And so I look
Mhm.
forward to seeing what that community is about. I know I'm going to be joining it. And I'm excited, man. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, this episode has been really fun. You and I always have these type of conversations, but it's good to like let other people kind of hear, what kind of conversations we have, be more authentic because, at the end of the day, man, a reel that you do 30 seconds, I do, 30 seconds.
Yeah, the
It's
long
so hard to
form
just
is
really be authentic, right? Like we're being authentic. This is just who we are, you know what I mean? And we're just having just a normal conversation. So this has been a great episode. I've had a great time, and we're gonna have many more. And yeah, other than that, yeah, for the guys that are listening, if you guys want one-on-one coaching, make sure that you go to, book a call down below, click on the link below, and it'll take you directly into my application. And then from there, we'll just jump on a consultation call. We'll see what your goal is as far as like your dating relationship life. And then from there, we'll come up with a game plan according to, what are the challenges and struggles you're having. So that way that we can expedite this process, improve your dating life, and attract the right woman and be able to keep her. Okay. So if you guys want to do that, make sure you do that now because your love life freaking matters. Okay. No one is going to save you but yourself. So you got to take action. Okay. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next episode.